Are you worried about what happens when global alliances fracture overnight? Welcome back to Universal Insight. Please subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon for more updates. The world is holding its breath. From Brussels to Vancouver, a new economic reality is dawning, loudly from Washington. On October 1st, President Trump unleashed sweeping tariffs, targeting everything from European trucks to Canadian lumber. The move was bold, aggressive, and exactly what he promised. The global reaction was immediate: condemnation from Paris, warnings from Berlin, and shock across the European Union. A 25% tariff on German trucks hit the heart of Europe's auto industry, fracturing the post-war economic order. Trump cited national security and unfair trade practices, imposing duties on Canadian timber, foreign furniture, movies, and pharmaceuticals. The message: the era of globalist freeloading is over. Allies in Europe and North America now face a fundamental challenge to the global trading system. Tariffs are forcing nations to redraw supply chains and question old alliances. As leaders scramble to respond, the question is no longer if a trade war is coming, but how destructive it will be. The first shots have been fired, and the world is bracing for impact. President Trump's trade philosophy is blunt: America has lost for decades, and tariffs are the fix. He blames unfair foreign practices for shuttered factories and trade deficits. Tariffs, he argues, will make American companies more competitive and bring jobs home. Supporters see this as fighting for the American worker, even if it means higher prices now for long-term gain. The administration touts billions in new tariff revenue, promising to use it for domestic priorities. Tariffs on drugs can be avoided if companies build plants in the U.S., a clear push for investment. The 25% truck tariff targets European giants, aiming to force global companies to invest in America. But U.S. business groups warn tariffs are a tax on families and risk American jobs if other countries retaliate. The Chamber of Commerce and others fear disrupted supply chains and lost export markets. Legal battles are mounting, with the Supreme Court showdown looming over the president's authority. The future of American trade policy hangs in the balance. Europe is fighting back. The EU is preparing retaliatory tariffs on iconic American goods: Kentucky Bourbon, Harley-Davidson motorcycles, Florida oranges, hitting politically sensitive regions. The goal: make the pain of the trade war felt in Washington's backyard. Brussels is also taking the U.S. to the World Trade Organization, arguing Trump's tariffs violate international law. A WTO ruling against the U.S. would justify Europe's countermeasures and isolate America on the global stage. European leaders see the tariffs as an attack on sovereignty and multilateralism, forging new unity within the EU. German automakers and French winemakers warn of dire consequences, while the EU coordinates its economic defense. Diplomacy remains possible, but only if the US rolls back its latest tariffs. A framework deal for lower tariffs is now in jeopardy. Europe is bracing for economic pain, but determined to stand firm. The transatlantic partnership is on the brink. Amid the chaos, Canada is emerging as a quiet winner. With the US seen as unpredictable, Canada is pitching itself as a stable, open-for-business alternative. Prime Minister Trudeau's government is courting global investors, touting free trade and a skilled workforce. International companies are shifting investment to Canada, seeking certainty and access to North America without US tariffs. Sectors like manufacturing and tech are booming as firms expand in Ontario instead of the US South. Canada is fast-tracking trade deals with Europe and the Pacific, reducing dependence on the US. By building new alliances, Canada is insulating itself from American volatility. Still, it faces its own tariffs, like a 10% duty on timber and rising unemployment. But Canada is betting that stability and reliability will win out over US market size. In a world of trade wars, Canada is turning crisis into opportunity. The trade war is hitting home. Prices for everyday goods are rising as tariffs end import exemptions. Tomatoes up 3.3%, coffee up 2.3% in a month. Inflation is manageable, but families feel the squeeze. Industries are split. U.S. steel producers benefit, but builders and furniture makers face higher costs. A 10% tariff on Canadian timber raises home prices. A 30% tariff on furniture components hurts U.S. manufacturers. Soybean exports to China have collapsed, with Australia filling the gap. Some companies like AstraZeneca are investing billions in the U.S. to avoid tariffs, while others face plummeting shares and tough choices. The labor market is cooling. Private payrolls dropped by 32,000 in September. For every protected job, another is at risk in ports, farms, or factories. The economic battle is dividing America into winners and losers. The true cost of the trade war is becoming clear. The world stands at a crossroads. One path, escalating tariffs, fractured alliances, and a global recession. The other, a painful rebalancing, with shorter supply chains and new centers of power. Nations like Canada may thrive as stable hubs, while others are forced into tough deals with the US. The old order is gone. A fragmented new reality is emerging. The next moves by Trump, the EU and Canada will decide the outcome. Will leaders double down or seek compromise? This is more than economics. It's about the world we want to live in. The future is unwritten, and the world is watching.